Let's bring in my first guest. My first guest is Paul Cardin. I believe he's with us. Paul, can I see you on the screen? I can. Here he is. Paul Cardin, good morning to
Hi,
you.
Sonia.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing okay.
Good to have you with us, Paul. You are, of course, well, you're many things. I mean, these days you are a business owner, but you are also formerly a radio operator in the Royal Navy, and you are somebody who regularly comments in the live chat. You're a supporter of Wake Up, and I very much appreciate that. And you wrote to me at the end of last week, and you were talking about Prince Andrew, and obviously it's the stripping of the titles of Prince Andrew that kind of started, and all this is in the kind of backlash following Virginia Giuffre's book about the further leaking of Epstein emails, which actually shows that Andrew was seriously involved with him. And so obviously Charles and William and Kate, they're very, very keen to keep their position because they're desperate to keep the royal family rolling on. And so what they're essentially doing is this public cutting loose of Andrew, even though they're moving him from one mansion to the next and still going to give him loads of money. But I think the most important thing at this moment in time, and why you contacted me, is because they removed his title Prince, and he is now going to be known formally as Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. And you said he should get rid of Mountbatten for a start. Paul, take it away. Tell us more.
Okay, Sonia, thanks for that. I really think it's time for Prince Andrew to start being honest with himself, because that's the place where you start if you're going to put a good image out to the world, and start making a sort of clean breast of things. And the reason I contacted you, Sonia, is there was something which happened a long time ago, back 43 years ago, during the Falklands. I was on HMS Yarmouth down there, and while the war was going on, we used to get helicopters would come with our mail, and they'd hover above the flight deck and drop a bag with our mail in it, and we were all running to get our mail. But also we used to get newspapers, quite recent newspapers that were published at the time, and we got a copy of the Daily Mail, and the front page, you've got the Daily Express up there.
The Daily Express. The Daily Mail wasn't a very good clear image, but this one is good. This one's good. Andrew, I was decoyed for an exocet. I was told to hit the deck. Is that's true, right, Paul?
No, it's not true. It's not true. What they're referring to is an incident on the 30th of May, 1982. And what happened then, this was the Argentinians' final air-launched exocet attack against the British fleet. 30th of May, and what we have is a sort of carrier battle group, and that's the Invincible, which Andrew was on. And then around that we have other ships, and the Invincible always stayed away to the east. It was the furthest ship, which is obvious. And then the other ships, HMS Avenger and HMS Exeter, were further to the west. And this Super Étendard plane came flying in, released one or two missiles, and then that was from 20 miles distance. And HMS Avenger claims to have shot it down, okay? And then there's another, that was sort of, people are not sure about that. They claim to have shot it down with their 4.5-inch guns. Another claim is that a ship put a cloud of chaff up. Now, chaff is sort of very fine aluminium foil. It's fired up in a shell or a mortar, that explodes, and there's a load of metal in the air, and that gives a sort of radar echo. So any missile coming in towards the ships will see the ship echo, and we'll see the chaff, which is mimicking a ship, and it confuses the missile, and it'll either go for the chaff, or it'll get confused, or it'll land in the sea. So you're just upping your chances by firing that stuff up in the air. So on that day, the missile came flying in. HMS Invincible was 25 miles to the east of HMS Avenger. So what's happened here is that the newspaper editors or the owners have got onto this and decided to sensationalise the whole story and make out... Sorry, go on.
Yeah, so let me just be clear here, right, because we don't have a great deal of time. Let me just be clear here. What you're saying is the idea that Andrew was some sort of naval hero is a lie. It's fraudulent. That's what you're saying, isn't it?
It is, because the man in the streets picking up that newspaper would think, wow, Prince Andrew has just saved the lives of 1,000 crew on HMS Invincible by decoying at Exeter. That's what it said, Andrew decoys. The Daily Mail headline was very direct, and it said, Andrew decoys Exeter missile. And when we got that newspaper on our ship, I'm not joking, we fell about 20 of us. Fell about laughing, honest to God.
Stuff, isn't it? It's same stuff. They're talking about stripping him of his medals. So do you think it's about time?
I don't think he should lose his Falklands medal, because I'm not here to totally lambast Prince Andrew. On the 25th of May, which was 5 days earlier, the Argentinians launched an Exocet attack, air-launched, and this time they got a big radar contact and it hit the Atlantic conveyor. Now, the Invincible was about 10, 20 miles away, and Prince Andrew was a co-pilot of a Sea King helicopter, and he and his pilot flew to the ship and started picking up survivors from the sea or from the life rafts. You know, some of those men were in life rafts for 4 hours. You know, it was like the cruel sea. You were thinking, Christ, is anyone ever going to pick us up? Right. And some of them, 26 of them, got picked up by Prince Andrew's helicopter. So all credit to him. I don't think he should lose his Falklands medal.
And I find that interesting, because you're like completely anti-establishment, and yet you're able to acknowledge that. And I think that's good. I think that's refreshing. It's not all out, you know, destroy, that you can acknowledge that he did something. And you catalogue, obviously, your experience in the Falklands in the Return to Bomb Alley 1982, don't you?
Yeah.
And so, but in general, in terms of Prince Andrew, so you don't think he should be stripped of his Falklands awards?
No.
What do you think would happen to him at this stage, given everything that's come out?
I think it's the ball is in his court, I'd say. And like I said earlier, he needs to sort of grow up, you know, be honest with himself about everything, about the child abuse. I think this extends to the royal family as well, with King Charles, you know. The same message goes to him, you know, with the Savile connection. Be open about it. You know, the man in the street is looking at you, looking up to you, and expecting some honesty, you know.
Who's expecting honesty from royal family, Paul?
I'd say all of us.
Really?
Yeah, because all of us. I mean, we all know the connections to Bishop Peter Ball, you know, Savile, all that sort of thing. So, is it right to expect honesty from them, do you think?
I've way long past expecting honesty from that.
That's the way you're coming from.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that to expect we're going to get any honesty from them is to continue to delude ourselves, because it's not an honest enterprise to start off with, right? So that's the problem. The other thing that I thought was interesting was the government were consulted before his titles were stripped away from him. I didn't realise that was protocol. Did you know that?
No, I didn't. The government seemed to be taking their lead from royalty. I'm not sure if that's right. Shouldn't they be doing that?
Yes, indeed. And the thing is that the government and royalty are currently trying to work out what to do with their joint Epstein problem, obviously, because Epstein's all over royalty. Epstein is all over politics. Peter Mandelson committee hearing this week. So I don't ultimately know what's going to happen. But I mean, me personally, as a taxpayer, I feel really aggrieved that we have been funding these people, and everybody knows that about me. But I certainly don't see why we should be funding people like Prince Andrew or Sarah Ferguson or their daughters, even though their daughters retain their titles. Would you abolish the monarchy, Paul?
I would, in a heartbeat. I would. Yeah. I've always felt that, even when I was down in the Falklands War, I would have abolished the monarchy.
Right.
You know, their influence is just, it's tremendous. I mean, people picking up that newspaper, you know, with the headline, Andrew decoys Exeter missile, they'll put the paper down, they'll walk off, and they'll vote Tory. You know, that's the kind of influence that dishonesty has.
Propaganda, yeah, it is, absolutely. But your book, you wrote it yourself, very much about your reflections of what took place, and you are very kindly giving away a signed copy to one of our viewers. Use your deal, people, and that is send to Sonia Poulton at sky.com, and the it will close at 6 p.m. on Tuesday, and the first one randomly selected will receive a copy of Paul's book, Return to Bomb Alley. So at the moment, Paul, we're hearing that there are 2 Scotland Yard inquiries regarding Andrew. One is essentially a scoping exercise, which is sort of an inquiry before an official investigation. The second one, I think, is probably more serious, because it's the whole idea that Andrew tried to get his publicly funded police protection officers to dig up dirt on Virginia Giuffre. What are your thoughts about the Giuffre revelations that have been coming out?
Yeah. It's so sad that she took her own life. It really is, you know. I saw what you did about her book. You know, that was amazing to watch that.
Thank you.
And I think they still deserve justice. Her family, they still deserve that.
Yeah, it's not enough, is it, just to strip people of titles? You do need to have police investigations if it seems that a criminal line has been passed. Paul, before you leave us,
do their jobs.
Yeah, absolutely. Paul, before you leave us today, anything else that you'd like to add about Prince Andrew and his naval days?
Yes, the only other thing I'd like to say is that he's had 4 decades in which to correct the newspapers, to say, look, guys, you know, let's be honest about what I did down there. I was no Exocet missile came near us. You know, he did speak to a Ministry of Defence magazine with a low circulation quite a few years ago, stating that he never even saw an Exocet missile. But that was read by a few thousand people.
Right.
He contacted the Express and the Mail and updated their readers. You know.
Yeah, I mean, that's the big difference, isn't it? That's the big difference, because when it's on the front page of a newspaper, obviously, even if millions aren't buying it anymore, it's there, it's in the newsstands, people see the headlines. So, yeah, it has a knock-on effect, but that's how propaganda works.
Yes,
right?
I'm going to be contacting IPSO, so-called press regulator, and seeing if they can contact the Daily Mail and the Express and to get them to publish a correction, even though it's 43 years.
It's a long time after the event. I'd be very surprised if they would get involved now.
But I'll go for it.
Yeah, it's worth a shot, isn't it? Thank you for giving away a signed copy of Return to Bomb Alley 1982. Thank you for joining us this morning, everybody. This is Paul Cardin, who was a former radio operator, naval radio operator, and is here to tell us that the Andrew story of his time in the Navy isn't all that it seems. Good to have you with us, Paul. Take good care of yourself.
Sonia.
Have a good week. Take care.
Thanks a lot. Bye.
Bye.